Alright y'all, so if you follow ZooMontana on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, you might have noticed that this month's theme is animal parenting and reproductive strategies in animals. If you don't follow us already, go ahead and do it now. I'll put our handles up on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook up on here for you to find them easily. We are just ZooMontana. So, for this last video in June, we're going to be elaborating on one of those topics that we were talking about on social media. Specifically, in this video, we are going to be talking about parenting. We're going to be exploring the evolutionary benefits of parenting, so why do it in the first place, and the 4 types of parenting that we see occur throughout the natural world. Now, for those of you who have not met me, I am Educator Emily, and let's get started. Now, as I'm sure that you are aware of, not every single organism on planet Earth parents their offspring. In fact, the lack of parenting is a reproductive strategy in and of itself. But for those that do, why parent? Parenting is an extremely energetically costly behavior, which is why some animals don't do it at all. However, parenting increases the likelihood of survival for the offspring. Whether the parent is just incubating the eggs until they hatch, if they lay eggs outside their body, or if it's caring for the animals after they are born or hatched. This extra care helps to ensure that the offspring has the tools it needs to survive in the wild. Now, this whole month on YouTube, we've been talking about the evolutionary modes of selection that allow animals to maximize their reproductive success. While parenting is not a mode of selection like natural kin or sexual selection, it can function as a way to maximize an organism's fitness. Think about it. Do you think that you would be a biologically more successful human being if you had a parent to teach you about the world and about society? Or do you think you'd be a more successful human being if you were just left alone from the moment you were born to fend for yourself? You'd probably be more equipped to handle the world if you had a parent. And from your parent's point of view, that means that you have a higher likelihood to produce offspring, and thus carry on and pass on some of the genes that you share with the parent. So today in this video, we're going to be discussing the 4 types of parental care that we see throughout the animal kingdom. We'll be discussing why those animals have that parental care method, what it is, and then giving an example of an animal with that method. Now, because it's our own human parental care method, and thus the one that we are most familiar with, we're going to talk about biparental care first. Now, this type of parental care is actually very dependent on sexual selection. If you want more on sexual selection, make sure to check out the video we put up a couple weeks ago. We see biparental care in species where sexual selection is not strong, meaning that there isn't a huge skew between males and females in the population and their reproductive success. Now, aside from us humans, this type of parental care is extremely rare in mammals, but in fact, it's the norm in most birds. Only 5% of mammals exhibit true biparental care, whereas nearly 90% of birds are socially monogamous, raising the offspring together. Now, note that I said socially monogamous. Many bird species do participate in extra pair copulations or matings outside of that breeding pair to maximize their own individual reproductive success. So they are not sexually monogamous, they are socially monogamous, but it's still 2 individuals in a breeding pair raising offspring together, and thus is classified as biparental. Biparental care can also exist in species that are serially monogamous, or organisms that mate with different individuals every year, only remaining faithful to that mate of that year. It can also be present in animals that mate for life. Now, for animals that mate for life, pair bonding and co-parenting increases the offspring's likelihood for survival. It's thought that the longer they spend with each other, right, the more they get to know each other and become better parents, and thus are increasing the likelihood of their offspring surviving. In fact, scientists have found in species that are monogamous breeders and pair for life that the longer a pair has been together, the higher the likelihood of their offspring surviving. However, for this example, we're not going to be talking about an animal that breeds for life. We're going to be talking about a serially monogamous breeder. The emperor penguin. Yes, contrary to popular belief and what Happy Feet taught you, emperor penguins do not mate for life. They are serially monogamous, which means they're only going to remain faithful to one partner for 1 year. Now, while they can, in theory, mate with another partner again, The likelihood of that happening in subsequent years is only about 15%. So, how do these guys co-parent? What do they do? Courting and mating occurs in April and May, and the female will lay an egg in June. This is all happening in the autumn of Antarctica. Once she has laid her egg, she will delicately transfer it over to the male. He keeps it underneath a brood pouch on his feet, and this helps to protect the egg from the harsh Antarctic elements. Once she's given her mate the egg, she leaves, and she goes out to sea to forage for the next couple of months, leaving all of the males behind to incubate the egg during the harsh Antarctic winter. Now, the male has to be extremely careful to not let the egg touch the ice. If it does touch the ice, even if it's out of the brood pouch for as little as 2 minutes, it could permanently damage or even kill the developing embryo inside. Assuming a male is successful in keeping that egg off the ice, chicks will hatch in mid-July. Now remember, at this time, the female still has not returned from sea, and the male has basically been fasting for the entirety of this Antarctic winter. So how is he supposed to feed the chick before mom comes home? Now, the males have this super awesome ability. Despite not having eaten for months, they have the ability to generate a curd-like substance in their esophagus, or crop, and feed this to the chick for up to 2 weeks while they wait for mom's return. Now, once the female returns foraging from the sea in late July, early August, the male leaves to take his turn, transferring parental care over to the female. From here on out, both the male and the female will alternate their parental care duties to raise their chick. Now, this biparental care will occur until about November, when the chick begins to molt and get its adult feathers. Now, that's the norm for parental care in birds. While it might not look exactly the way it does in emperor penguins, most bird species do exhibit biparental care. Now, let's talk about us mammals. And what's the main parental care method that mammals tend to do? Well, that's maternal care, or care solely given by the mother. So in species where we see female-only parental care, like in us mammals, the reproductive success of females tends to be limited by resources, and male reproductive success is limited by their access to females. Now, it's in instances like this where we see male-male combat for females, think ruts in elk and bison and deer, or males holding resource-rich territories that will then draw females into their range. This type of parental care also arises in many mammalian species because in most of these cases, unless the fertilization of the female egg is external, the male has no way of guaranteeing that he fertilized that egg. Thus, he has no way of knowing that the offspring he might be raising is indeed genetically his. Thus, he doesn't know whether or not it's beneficial for him to parent. This tends to be why we see male desertion in many mammalian species. So not only is this a common parental care strategy in mammals because of internal fertilization, but also there's long female gestation periods or pregnancies, where the male can't really maximize his reproductive success aside from feeding and caring the female, which may not give him as many offspring as mating with other females. In addition, mammalian mammals lack functioning mammary glands, and thus they can't feed the offspring for the first few months or weeks of its life. The combination of these three factors is what accounts for maternal care being the primary mode of parental care in many mammalian species. For this example, let's talk about snow leopards. Now, these gorgeous cats are native to the cold mountain highlands of the Himalayas, and it's females that raise the young. These animals, unlike lions, are solitary big cats. They live alone, only coming together to mate and when a female is raising her kits. After a pregnancy or gestation period of about 100 days, females typically will give birth to one single cub. She will then care for them for approximately 2 years. That's a very long time for parental care in a carnivore. She will nurse them for the first 2 months of their life until they can eat solid food. After that, they will follow her on her territorial treks around her home range as she teaches them skills like hunting. Snow leopards live in harsh environments and life can be incredibly difficult for them. So this 2-year parental care period is extremely important for both mother and offspring. It's crucial for the mother to invest her time into teaching the offspring how to hunt and survive in these environments, to not only ensure that her offspring survives past those 2 years, but also to ensure that her offspring will hopefully survive to reproductive age and pass on the genes that they share. So far we have discussed 2 methods of parental care, and let's talk about the third, which is paternal care, or care from the father or male. Now, paternal care, and solely paternal care, is extremely rare in the wild, but it does occur in some species, like the African jacana, which is one of the species of birds that does not exhibit biparental care. It's one of those remaining 10%. In these birds, the stereotypical parenting roles are reversed. The females are not only larger than the males, which is an example of sexual dimorphism, typically flipped the other way. Males tend to be larger than females in many species. Females are also more brightly colored, and they are the ones competing for males. Instead of males having large territories to draw in females, these female jacanas are the ones with the large, resource-rich territories to draw in males. And instead of the female caring for the young, once she mates with him and lays her eggs, she then deserts him, leaving all future parental duties in his wings. She then will mate with other males throughout her territory. In fact, female jacanas can be extremely aggressive towards one another to try and defend these males. Now, why do we see this seemingly odd role reversal in parenting? Well, it's theorized that it all has to do with clutch size, or how many eggs a female bird can lay. These guys are shorebirds, and like many other shorebirds, jacanas tend to have small clutch sizes, often laying no more than 4 eggs. This small clutch size then means that selection's probably going to favor female desertion, so she can maximize her reproductive success by laying more eggs. In fact, female aggression can get so intense that females will kill other females in order to make males available for breeding again. Now, this is something that we are familiar with in lions. When other males will take over a pride, they will actually kill cubs of the female lions to send the females into estrus again. And this is what's happening with female jacanas killing each other. It sends the male bird back into that reproductive mating mode, and thus the winner is able to mate with the male and lay more eggs. So the jacana is this very interesting example of where we see these stereotypical roles being reversed. This bird isn't biparental like 90% of bird species are, nor is it maternal. It's one of those few outliers that exhibit true paternal care. And now for our last example, and this is alloparenting, which might be a new word for some of you. And alloparenting basically just means any form of parenting that is directed towards an individual that is not direct offspring. So that can be your grandparents caring for you, right? You're not their direct offspring. It can be you caring for your best friend's kid through babysitting. And this can also include unrelated members of social groups caring for each other's young. And we kind of touched on this mode of parenting a little bit in our kin selection video without explicitly saying that it was alloparenting. We talked about this with Florida scrub jays. Now, alloparenting is thought to have arisen through kin selection and reciprocal altruism, which we talked about in the kin selection video. So if you want more information on that, go ahead and check out that video. To recap though, here are those 2 definitions for kin selection and reciprocal altruism. Kin selection is the process by which characteristics are favored because of their effects on relatives. Reciprocal altruism is basically the fancy science way of saying, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Or behaviors directed to other individuals who will then return the behavior later. Now, this is a parenting strategy we tend to see in social animals like us humans, and the example we're going to be discussing today actually occurs in one of our primate relatives, the Barbary macaques. Now, Barbary macaques live in matriarchal groups that range from 10 individuals to 100 individuals. And unlike most species of macaque that have solely maternal care, the macaques in these troops actually exhibit alloparenting. Everybody in the troop helps to raise everybody else. However, it's not all fun and games. Alloparenting is not even and equal in these groups. In fact, it's often influenced by social rank. In Barbary macaque society, social rank descends in order from highest to lowest, highest being the lead female of the troop. Higher ranking females tend to have more interaction with infants across all rank lines than lower-ranking individuals do. Meaning, high-ranking individuals can not only alloparent high-ranking babies, they can also alloparent low-ranking babies, while low-ranking females can probably only alloparent the babies of other low rankers. And this is probably because that higher ranking females hold more social weight, and thus have more power to dictate not only whose offspring they care for, but who cares for their offspring. Now, what about the dudes? We've only talked about the females so far. Male Barbary macaques also participate in this alloparenting, which is extremely unique. Both unrelated females and males will care for infants. Males will even go so far as to carry the infants while traveling. In addition, they'll also babysit. And these long stints of care are very uncommon to see in male macaques. And that's parenting for you. Ta-da! Thank you for watching today's video. I do just want to let you guys know that for the entirety of the summer, we will be cutting down our videos to about one video a month while summer camps happen at the zoo. Next month, our social media theme is all things paleontology, so make sure to follow ZooMontana on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to make sure you don't miss out on anything dinosaur or prehistoric animal related. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and make sure to keep your eyes peeled at the end of the month for the video in July summing up some aspect of paleontology. See you next time!